good evening to everyone for this wonderful gathering for the program, Right Pitch to the Right Audience. This program has been mainly concentrate how the professional students can able to enrich their knowledge, especially in the curriculum subjects. So I take immense pleasure to invite our beloved and respected Vice Chairman E.V. Kumaran sir and respected Register sir and our beloved Principal Dr. Ravichandran sir to motivate us regarding this particular program. So today's speakers, Mr. Mohan Rangan sir, Associate Professor of Department of Computer Science and Engineering, and Mr. Suresh, an Assistant Professor of Department of Computer Science Engineering of our institution, is going to take a topic on the series of Web Series 2, named as an Cloud Journey. So this basic objective of this particular program, that what we mean as an right pitch to the right audience. What are the subjects that the student is going to be carried out for the forthcoming semesters? So in what way the subject is going to be relationship with the previous semester that you have been studied? So we want to give a background. We want to give a strong background for the forthcoming sessions. So that is very important aspects to be carried out, especially when you are doing the projects or when you are doing for any kind of an social connectivity of ideas to be postponed. So that is a very important aspects to be idea related to the main objective, that in what way we can able to create a right platform to the right students at the right time. So that is very important to be carried out actually. So this particular program mainly focus on other aspects, like in what way your subject is being carried out now, and what are the different kinds of scenarios and evaluations, as well as the criteria that you can able to carry out to the subjects, and what are the different kinds of future related to the subjects to be carried out, because as we are in the pandemic situations, so in what way the cloud is being taking more much of opportunities actually. So especially when you go for the corporates, like different MNC companies, especially the software companies, they have been worked with the architecture of a data centers actually. So all the branches are connected, interlinked with data centers with a strong network. But after this pandemic situation, when all the professionals and all the programmers are being distributed to their natives, so in what way the data centers has been connectivity? So that is the issues came over it. So there the cloud has been come forward. The topic, that today's topic, which what we called as a cloud journey. So this topics has been come forwarded, and this topic will take the pandemic situation what we specifically making now actually. So this topic is been most crucially in this pandemic situation, because all the works whatever we have carried out now, even through the Google Classrooms, or it may be an any kind of an activities that we have been carried out on all the software professionals that we are working out, everything is being carried out in the name of cloud actually. So now I will give the sessions to Mr. Mohan Rangan sir as well as Suresh Kumar sir to take over the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Jyotish Kumar sir, Head of Department of Computer Science and Engineering. And first I welcome our Head of Department, Dr. M. Jyotish Kumar, for this event. And I also welcome all the staff members and students, those who are going to attend this session under the name called Cloud Journey. So I hope that all the students are very fortunate by attending this event. The reason is actually wherever you are there, actually where you are staying, and from that place you are able to attend this event. So you are also safe, and you are making others also safe. Okay. So we are very fortunate, and right now I am going to start the session. So log on Cloud Journey. So I am myself as Mohan Rangan, Associate Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, and my colleague Mr. R. Suresh, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering. So we are going to take this session under the name of Cloud Journey. So first we are going to focus about objectives of this session. What is cloud? History, features and characteristics of cloud. What are the challenges related to cloud? And what is internet as well as cloud? The cloud deployment models. Then what are the services which are available from cloud environment? And what is meant by virtualization and hypervisor? And what is meant by serverless computing? Okay. Some of the terms may be very new to so our students. And anyhow, now we are going to see the objectives one by one. So in general, so what we can say, the students who are going to start the 7th semester are going to have one of the subjects is called the cloud computing. Initially, in your previous so regulation, so it was actually named as grid and cloud computing. So, so right now for this regulation 2017, they have changed the name as from grid and cloud computing to cloud computing. Actually, grid is called load balancing and the cloud is called as a resource sharing. But actually right now grid is so become as an older one, but the cloud is becoming an emerging one according to technology. So the regulation 2017 batch is having this kind of subject, as well as they are also having one of the laboratories called the cloud computing laboratory. So as our data department specified, so you have the opportunity to develop many number of projects related to cloud. So according to the objective, the first 4 kinds of objectives will be taken by our colleague Mr. R. Suresh, as a professor from the department of CSC. Right now, I am asking Mr. Suresh, assistant professor, department of CSC, to take this session. Mr. Suresh, can you please?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Good evening, one and all. I specially thanks to Principal Sir, HOD Sir, Mr. M. Jyotish Kumar Sir for conducting web series programs to students enrich their knowledge. First, what is cloud? First, we discuss about what is cloud. It is actually cloud computing is on-demand access via internet to computing resources, applications, servers, physical server or a virtual server, data storage, development tools, and networking capabilities. Cloud computing allows the users to use web services and resources on demand. One can log on a website at any time and use them. Cloud computing is completely web-based. It can be accessed from anywhere and anytime. That means the features for internet working. Cloud computing allows multiple tenants to share a pool of resources. One can share a single physical instance of a hardware, database, and basic infrastructure. Cloud computing is used to manipulating, accessing, and configuring the hardware and software resources remotely. It gives online data storage, infrastructure, and application. It supports a platform independency as the software is not required to be installed locally on the PC. Hence, the cloud computing is making our business applications mobile and collaborative. There are many cloud providers, as I am sure many of you might have heard of. One of the most popular cloud providers is Amazon Web Services, AWS. There are also other providers here, Microsoft Azure, Google Compute Engine, and there are a whole bunch of other companies including RightScale, Salesforce, EMC, Gigaspaces, Tengen, DataStax, Oracle, VMware, Yahoo, Cloudera, and hundreds of more companies that are too many to mention here. Then we have to take AWS portion. AWS offers a variety of services. 3 of their most popular services are called EC2, S3, and EBS. EC2 is an elastic compute cloud which provides the computing services. S3 is a simple storage service which provides you the ability to store the data that you can access it from anywhere in the world. And EBS is elastic block storage, which is essentially volume storage that the EC2 instances can access while they are running. So there are 2 categories of clouds. They are either public cloud or a private cloud. A private cloud is one that is accessible only to a special privileged employees or a personal one. For instance, for example, if you are working in company X and the company X has a data center or a cluster or a cloud which is accessible only to the employees of the company, that private cloud. It is not openly accessible one. On the other hand, a public cloud is one that can be accessed by anyone, anywhere in the world, as long as they have to credit card and have to pay for that. The Elastic Compute Cloud once again allows you to upload and run arbitrary OS images. Essentially, these are virtual machines, VMs, and you have to pay per CPU hours that you use. If you use 5 virtual machines for 1 hour, at all at the time you had to pay 5 CPU hours. Sure. Shall we move next slide, sir?
Yeah.
Sir, previous one, sir. Previous one. Enough, sir. Previous one. Kindly move to previous one. Previous one, sir. Okay. What's actually the cloud it is? When you ask different people in industry what's actually the cloud it is, they will give you very different answers. Some would say it's a cluster, a bunch of servers strung together by a network. Other might say, no, it's a supercomputer. It has more power than a simple cluster than you might run in your lab. Other might say, no, it stores a lot of data. So it's different from a supercomputer because it stores data rather than compute things. Well, it can be a lot more things than all of these together. This is totally different. So there is no single definition for a cloud itself. It is often taken to mean not just compute and storage resources, but also include the network and so on and so forth. However, cloud computing is on demand as is via internet. You have compute cycles with data moving around. Essentially, there is so much data for huge data. It is also data intensive world that we live in, that you can't really move around the data all that easily. So you need to bring the compute closer to the data rather than bring the data closer to where the computer is. Okay, sir. Move to next slide, sir. Sir?
Yes, moving.
Okay, sir, it's not changing, sir.
It's changing, no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. A sample cloud topology. There are two kinds of clouds: a single-site cloud or a geo-distributed or geographically distributed cloud. That's shown in a figure. That one is a single-site cloud. Then a single-site cloud, known as a data center, often consists of following components. Of course, it have been source of servers or complete nodes. There are grouped into racks. A rack as a unit of several servers, which typically share the same power and often share a top of the rack switch. This top of the rack switches are often connected via a network topology. For instance, a tree-like topology or hierarchical topology. One of the most popular being just a two-level tree where you have the top of the racks, the one level, and then you have the cores which is connecting all the top of the racks to each other. In addition to these nodes which are used for computing servers, there are also backend nodes also in the racks, but those are predominantly used for storage. These might be nodes that have hard disk on them. And then there are user-facing servers where the client requires to come in or users consume a job if it is a batch processing system. And finally, there is a software that is running at all of these servers as well as the routers. The software includes operating system that includes a user level applications. It includes actual IP protocol, then switches and routers. For IP protocol, that one is used to connect the rack of servers. Okay, that needs to make the rack of servers. Then switches and routers are nothing but that are centralized devices that helps to communicate. And it also includes other routing protocols. So just a single data center. Typically, such a data center is housed in a single building or a single warehouse in the case of some of these large companies. But a large company might also have multiple geographically distributed data centers in two different places, or that may be in India, and another side is that may be in another country. That one is the geographically distributed data centers, multiple one, and they might be connected to each other. So these are all multiple sites, each site being the data center, and this is often called a geographically distributed or a geo-distributed cloud. Each site typically has the same structure and services as at least as far as a software is concerned, it has the same software stack. But this is not hard and fast rule. Different sites might have a different software stacks. So let me illustrate a sample cloud topology. In this diagram, you have the servers and the leaves of the topology essentially. The servers are grouped into racks. There is a top of the rack switch which connects all the servers that are in the rack. And then there are multiple such racks. Obviously, here I am just showing two racks, but there might be multiple such racks. And there is a core switch as well. Obviously, all of these core switches and all the rack switches are limited in terms of a bandwidth and in the number of ports that they have. So if you have many more servers than the cores which it can support, then you want to know but what actually the cluster it is, because this after all looks like a cluster, right? So what is it that a new about cloud computing that was not previously there in the clusters that we already know of? Okay, in cloud infrastructures that distinguishes the clouds from previous generations of distributed computing systems, essentially there are four major characteristics that distinguishes today clouds and the problems that they raise that are different from previous generations of distributed systems and problems. Okay, then they are massive scale, on-demand access, data-intensive nature, and new cloud programming paradigms. Sir, move to next slide, sir. Then the history, a cloudy history of time. Then this diagram that demonstrates how cloud computing came about. Cloud computing is not the first distributed system that has existed one. That has existed. There have been many over the decades. In fact, the first few computers that were built, including the very famous ENIAC, and other computers such as the Ardbeg and the ELIAC, which were built in 1940s. These were in the first computers that were built in the architecture or similar architecture as we know of today. There were, in fact, data centers. They occupied entire large halls and entire large labs. So those were in 40s and 50s. Then in 60s and 70s, there are the era of industry called time sharing and data processing industry. This was the industry that took large amount of data, large for those periods of time. Those might have been kilobytes or megabytes, and processed them and gave the outputs. Typically, the input was given in the form of punch cards, as well as the output were spewed out in the form of punch cards. Then in 1980s, the personal computer became popular one, and the data processing industry and time sharing companies declined. But PCs also made it easier to build clusters or networks of workstations, and this leads to the evolution of other eras of computing, such as grid computing, and then very large scale systems such as peer-to-peer systems in 90s and 2000s, and other and only now have we been coming back full cycle. Kindly move to next slide, sir. Okay, so clouds and data centers are in fact coming back full circle to the 1960s and 70s. That one is the era of processing industry, data processing industry, which is often called the precursor to the cloud computing industry, was a fairly large industry. So if you look at the numbers here, in 1960, the data processing industry was $70 million profit. In this diagram, you can see it. Then in 1970s, it had become $3.1 billion. Okay, given the rates of inflation and how much the dollar has inflated, this was a fairly large industry at the point of time. The players then were very different from the players that we have today in cloud computing. Honeywell, IBM, and a whole bunch of companies, including Xerox, were big players in that time. That era also resulted in several machines which are the precursor for the architecture of many of the workstation and even servers today. This included DEC PDP-10 as well as IBM 370, which were very popular at the time. The networks and workstations which are built from PCs or servers included Berkeley Network or workstation projects, also server farms. Several companies including IBM grids became fairly popular in 1980s. These were a way to connect several sites together. The sites being not very large scale, not as large scale as the data centers what we have in cloud computing, but being large enough, and grids were born out of the Grid P6 network project, also known as Grippine project. The peer-to-peer systems that were popular in 1990s and continue to be popular today included NetWare, Nutella, BitTorrent, still popular today. Sir, move to next slide, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. Then the 4 features in today's cloud. We already discussed in cluster, the difference between the cluster and cloud. The major problems that were come in the place of cloud, okay, that one is the major features in today's cloud. First one, massive scale. A massive scale essentially means that data centers are very large. They contain tens of thousands of, sometimes hundreds of thousands of servers, and you could run your computation like a big company or a small company, a Google type of a big company, or small MNCs. Across as many servers as you want to, many servers as your applications will scale. Then the second one is nothing but a on-demand access. On-demand access means that you don't sign a contract to purchase resources upfront. There is no upfront commitment. You only pay for what you use, and anyone can do so. The third aspect is data intensive nature. What used to be a megabytes has become terabytes of data. What used to be petabytes has now become exabytes of data. This is data that needs to be stored, and it needs to be processed, and perhaps it needs to be served up in real time. The data might include daily logs of what's going on certain web services. It might include forensics, web data, or a whole lot of other data, or large data such as terabytes, petabytes, exabytes. Humans have what is known as a data numbness just. Okay, that differed with the 2 different types of data. So one is the current data set as well as the historic data set. Then the number numbness, we are often unable to tell how large data sets are. For example, Wikipedia by itself does not count as big data or as data intensive, but yet there are data sets out there that are much larger and measured in petabytes and exabytes. Finally, the last but not least, there are new cloud programming paradigms, okay, that helps to simpler, okay, that have made it easier to process such large amounts of data. This includes MapReduce, open source implementations, Hadoop, as well as storage engines, which allow us to store the data and query it as a fairly efficient one. This includes key value stores such as Cassandra and NoSQL stores such as in MongoDB. These new programming paradigms and storage paradigms are very accessible. They are easy to program and easy to configure, and many of these systems are open source one. Sir?
Yeah.
Kindly move to next slide, sir.
Yeah, change it.
Okay, then this one is the diagrammatical view of a data center. What we use as a front view as well as the back view. They don't look very different from front and back. They are just a regular machines, except that these might be rack mounted machines. That are rack mounted machines. We mentioned in 2 racks. Okay, in this place, more number of racks are there. That all are interconnected together through the centralized switches. Then move to next slide, sir. Then they look like your regular desktops or workstations. In the inside view, you can view it. It's look like a individual machine that have a RAM and processor. What you have in PC. That one is the inside view. That look like a regular desktops or workstations. However, some of them might be highly secure. For instance, they might be behind walls or this type of in this diagram that all are protected, highly protected, because that all are financial information that's stored in this place. That all are highly sensitive one. Okay, sir.
Is it over?
Yes, sir. I welcome to Mr. Mohanaragan, sir, to carry on the session.
Okay, thank you, Suresh.
Okay, thank
very
you,
much.
sir.
Yeah. Okay, students, now we are going to continue the session with some additional information. So before we are going to enter onto the different aspects of cloud, first we need to know about what is meant by internet and what is meant by cloud computing or cloud. So actually, in general cases, many of us actually confusing the term between internet and cloud. They are thinking that the internet is itself is a cloud, but actually the fact is different. Okay, so internet is a different mechanism, and the cloud is a different technology. So cloud is not a mechanism; is a kind of technology, but internet is a kind of mechanism. So what is meant by internet? Network of network is known as actually internet. So clear about it. So simply interconnecting the devices, electronic devices, okay, which are able to connect with another system. So actually interconnecting the devices throughout the globe with the 3 different mechanisms, which are called as local area network, metro area network, and wide area network. Through this mechanism, the entire devices existing in the globe are able to interconnect. Okay. But in case of cloud, cloud is actually, I said that is a kind of technology. It's neither mechanism, so nor an application. It's a technology. So in this case of cloud, the technology is actually providing different sort of services and different types of resources. Okay. So this is the major difference between cloud and other technologies. So initially, actually we are so discussed about the concept of grid and cloud computing in our earlier situations. On that time, grid is nothing but is a kind of technology is dividing the load even to all other servers. The servers are having a load sharing mechanism that is called the grid computing. Okay. But in case of cloud computing, is not like the grid, but is actually having enormous resources. There are many number of enormous resources available, and these resources are actually shared among the multiple places according to demand. So it is called as cloud technology, sharing the resources and sharing the technologies. So according to this given definition, cloud computing is a new technology that delivers many types of resources over the internet. So for the cloud technology, then we need a platform called internet. Clear about it. Without internet, cloud technology can never be existed. Okay, if you want, so running over the cloud technology, we must need internet. Okay. So the major part of the cloud is cloud computing is the delivery of computing services, including servers, storage, databases, networking, software, analytics, and intelligence over the internet. And further, each and every client may have some request to have some resources. Okay. So how much resources do you need? That much of resources will be allotted. At the same time, how many times or how much of time you are going to use the resources, that much of amount alone you are permitted to pay. So these are the greatest advantages in case of the cloud technology. Okay. So now we are going to move on to the next one. And further, it's also very important to understand the difference between IoT and cloud, Internet of Things and the cloud technology. You see this difference. The cloud computing is nothing but is ubiquitous computing. Ubiquitous is nothing but existing everywhere. The simplest term for ubiquitous is existing everywhere. Whereas in case of IoT is pervasive. Okay, it's called as pervasive, which means spread to a specific group, not in everywhere. It's limited to specific group. That is called pervasive. Okay. So in your previous regulation, your senior students have studied the concept of mobile and pervasive computing. Okay. So the term pervasive is nothing but spread to a specific group, and the group is also limited to certain area. Then come to the second one. Cloud computing is nothing but virtual resource. In case IoT is real world. Okay, so cloud computing is providing an existence, but is not actually existing on that specific place. It is existing somewhere, but virtually giving an impression that the actual scenario is presently in front of you, is existing in front of you, is giving an impression. Okay. At the same time, in case of IoT, is providing a real world existence. And the third one, unlimited computation. But IoT is limited computation because a cloud is having enormous communication throughout the world. Okay, so the computation and its scalability is unable to calculate. The scalability and the computation are enormous in case of computing technology. And next one, manages big data. So cloud computing is actually handling the big data, but in case of IoT, it uses the big data source. Okay, and the next one is service delivery. The basic terms in case of cloud is nothing but servicing, providing the services, and in case of IoT is point of convergence. So these are the major difference between cloud computing and Internet of Things. Okay, we will move to the next one. What is meant by cloud collaborations? Okay, there are many number of demands and requirements are existing among the world. Each and every kind of requirements and demands are unique. Okay, and we are thinking that many requirements are common to everyone, but it's not actually like in the practical scenario. Which means there are many number of businesses are there. There are many number of individual requirements are there. There are many number of community-based requirements are there. So there are many dimensions are existing. Okay. So in this existing different dimensions of requirements, we are going to satisfy all the requirements without any dissatisfaction. So this kind of approach can be managed through the collaborations. Okay. So that is called a cloud collaboration. We'll go further. So why cloud computing? There are many terms which are related to the need for cloud computing is expressed. So they are providing 24/7 support, which means around the clock they are ready to give support. Okay. Actually, we are asking, sir, after 12 o'clock midnight, the resources is available or not? We cannot ask that question because the time you are specifying midnight 12 o'clock, so 12 o'clock will be the morning 11 o'clock for United States of America. Okay. So if you are saying that this is midnight, at the same time, the United States saying that this is my noon time. So the cloud is existing everywhere according to the statement. So they have to provide the support 24/7. And next one, pay as you use. you no need to borrow the resources. Instead, you have to get the resources and you have to use the resources, and you have to pay according to your usage, which means you actually don't need to buy the resources, but simply you can borrow it and you can use it and you can give it back. Okay, so according to your usage, the payment will be there. Then reliability, scalability, and the sustainability, all the assurity will be given. Okay, so the reliability of the resources, scalability of the resources, sustainability of the resources are the responsibility of the service provider. Okay, the client is no need to take any responsibility. For example, you are going to hire a car, and you are supposed to use the car for some sort of travels. So during that, if any of the tire get punctured, then you don't need to bother about it. It's the responsibility of the service provider. In same cases, so if you are demanding any resources from the cloud environment, then there are many number of service providers are available. Okay, the AWS is one of the cloud resources. Okay, they are providing the service. If any defects are there, then they are responsible to make any alternate. Okay, if you need additional resources, or if you need to extend the resources timing, if you need to increase the quantity of the resources, everything will be managed by the cloud service provider. So the reliability, scalability, and the sustainability are the responsibility of the cloud service provider. Secure storage management. So cloud is one kind of technology to provide a storage area to store all your vital information. It may be a confidential, or it may be a public information, whatever it may be, you are able to store it. Okay, storing and managing, and whenever you are asking you, then it will ready to provide you back about the information which you have stored on there. And lower capital expenditure. Assume that if you are going to start a business, you need 100 systems, and you need minimum 25 servers, and you need many number of printers. Then just think over how much of investment you have to provide for this business. Instead, so the printers are going to be provided by some other persons as a service provider, and the 100 numbers of systems are going to be provided by some other service providers, and the servers is also going to provide by some other service providers. So you are going to use that resources. Then once the purposes are completed, you can return back some of the systems. If they are not in use, then you can return back some of the systems. Okay. So then you have to pay only for the remaining systems which are existing with you. Okay. So you don't need to buy the entire resources, and you don't need to buy the entire building or entire infrastructure. So whatever the things you need, simply you have to borrow it and pay it again. Then you have to give it back. And highly automated and easy and agile deployment. These are the important features. And the reason for why we have to go for the cloud computing technology. The next one. These are the important features: resource pooling, on-demand self-service, easy maintenance, large network access, availability, automatic system, economical, security, pay as you go, and measured services. What is meant by measured services? It's nothing but if one of the client is going to use the resource for 10 hours, then they have to pay for the 10 hours only. At the same time, you are going to use the same resources for only 5 hours, then you have to pay only for the 5 hours. Okay. So if a person is going to purchase, actually hiring a car, and they are using 5 hours, then the 5 hours payment will be calculated according to the resource you have received. At the same time, one more client is going to hire a bike for 5 hours, then the 5 hours you have to pay according to the resource. Here, the bike and car cannot be calculated with the same value or amount. Okay, you have to think about it. So the measured services are actually an important computation work. So whatever the things you are going to hire and how much of time you are going to use it, then that much of amount you have to pay. But the amount is depend upon the resource you are going to demand. Okay, keep in your mind. So that I have given the differentiation between car and the bike. If you are hiring car for 5 hours, then you have to pay that much. So that much of amount. If you are hiring a bike for 5 hours, then you have to pay that much of amount. Okay, so that is called measured services. So the each and every resources may have different sort of amount, and according to your usage, you have to pay it. Some of the characteristics: on-demand services, ubiquitous, location transparent, rapid elasticity, and measured services with pay-per use. See that one, measured services. Though each and every vessel is having different quantity of size. Okay, the first one is lesser quantity, the last one is having higher quantity. Okay, so if you are choosing the last one, then you have to pay higher even the 1 hour you are using. If I am choosing the first one, then I may have to pay less if I am using 1 hour because of the quantity. And come to the previous one, rapid elasticity. What is meant by so rapid elasticity? Assume that tomorrow the result is going to be published for +2 students. Okay, I think the 2 days back we actually received the +2 students result. So in that cases, before that, before publishing the result, the path and the availability of internet will be very easy to everyone. Okay, and it's very so comfortable to everyone. The moment the result was published or result have been published, then that moment the entire path of the internet will be occupied because of the peakness. Okay, because of the demand. Okay, this is called a rapid elasticity. So in our cloud environment, a specific resource may have a higher demand. Okay, and specifically the resource may need a higher demand in a specific hour. On that time, many number of clients may asking the same resources for this much of time at the same time. Okay, for the some hours and at the same time. Okay, on that time, before that moment, the resources may be in idle state. After that moment, the resources may have a higher much of demand. That is called elasticity. It's not only elasticity, is called as a rapid elasticity. Suddenly it increases, suddenly the demand may be reduces. I have the capable to handle all sort of extreme cases. Okay, so in a specific situation, I may not have any demand for the specific resources. On that entire moment, the resource may be in idle state. After certain hours, some of the resources may have demand. After certain hours, the resources may have higher demand. In the peak hours, all the resources is having higher number of demands. Then I have to make the capable and I have to give the accommodation to receive the resources to on the client side. Come to the next one, challenges of the cloud. So there are many challenges onto the cloud technologies. Security is a very important challenges, and managing the storage area is also an important challenges of the cloud. So we have to focus only on the security and the storage management. We'll move to the next one. Very important thing. There are many different deployment models are related to cloud. They are called as public cloud, private cloud, community cloud, and hybrid cloud. What is meant by public cloud? So the resources are available in public. Then whoever want to ask, use the resource, then they can simply demand it and they can use it. There is no restrictions. Okay, everyone can access whatever the resources they do need. And to come to the private cloud, is a private organization is going to hold all the resources which are available. And if anyone want to access that resource, you must be the member of the management or you have some special authentication to access that resources. That is called a private cloud. And a hybrid cloud is nothing but the combination of private and public, which means there is a government aided organization. Assume that there is a government aided organization. Part of the resources is open to all the peoples. So all the clients may have the rights to access the resources. The limited resources are open to all. Some of the resources are only managed for the persons who are working inside the organization. This kind of approach is called what? Hybrid. And what is meant to be community cloud? So they are privately making a community. For example, Lions Club. In our Lions Club, so many different persons may be a member. Okay. So in that Lions Club, they may have some cloud mechanisms or actually some of the cloud resources. If I want to use the resources, then I must be the member of the community. Otherwise, I cannot access the resources. Okay. So this kind of approach is called what? A community cloud. So the cloud deployment models can be classified into 4 different categories: public, private, community, and hybrid. We will move to the next one. So in case of public, private, community, hybrid, and these are the things, how they are actually so managing the services, what are the security levels, and what are the scope of the services actually they are providing. This is very, very important in case of cloud technology. Service models. There are many number of services are available in our cloud services. Among that, these are very major and very important services. They are called as SWAS and PWAS and IWAS. SWAS is nothing but software as a service, and PWAS is nothing but platform as a service, and IWAS is infrastructure as a service. What is meant by SWAS, PWAS, and IWAS? Assume that you are having, actually you are going to start a business, and you need many number of things to establish your business. And think over that. You are going to start a software company. So you are going to start a software company. Okay. In that software company, you may have enormous employees, employee, and you may need enormous systems, and you may need a great and some square foot of area to establish your business. So there are many different aspects of that. Okay. And think over that. You are having a shopping mall. Okay. And the shopping mall is having some square bit of capacity, and you have some raw materials on the shopping mall, and you have 10 labs to maintain the things. Okay, assume that. So, which means that at the stage 100 customers are able to manage in the shopping mall according to their existing convenience. There are 10 labs are there are certain materials are there, and the accommodation place is also capable to manage up to 100 members. Just think it. Okay. And the next day, there is a holiday. On that time, there are double the amount of customers are going to visit in your shopping mall. Then you have to answer to me that, are you able to manage the double the amount of customers with the 10 members of labors? Or at least the materials which are available is is supposed to suitable, or so is manageable to distribute all the 200 customers. And further, the square area of the shopping mall is capable to manage the 200 peoples. So these are the questions should be raised. Okay. So for your understanding, I am giving this kind of description and definition. Okay. So if you are thinking that I am going to make the entire shopping mall capacity up to 500 customers, and up to 500 customers related materials, and so labs to be extended up to 50 members, from 10 to 50 members. Okay. So now the total members of labs become 50. Then the capacity of the shopping mall is extended from 100 square feet to 1000 square feet, and the materials are sufficient to manage up to 500 people. Okay. And the next day is first working day, Monday. Only 50 customers are visiting. Then what about your 50 labs, and what they are going to do? Only 50 customers are going to enter, but we are having 50 labs, and we are having the materials which are sufficient to manage up to 500 customers, and we are having 1000 square feet of area, but only 50 customers are entering into the shop. Then what are the expenses? So these are the things we need to consider. In throughout year, certain month or certain days only the customers and their counts may be increased, or certain periodically time or occasions only the customers and their count will be increased, and the demand will be increased. Okay. So based on that only, if you are managing the labors, materials, and the square feet of the shopping mall for throughout the year, then it may give more expensive. Okay. So it may lead for more expensive. Right. Instead, what I am going to do, whenever the demands are there, I am going to make understanding with a service provider. There are different 3 service providers are there. Okay. One of the service provider is ready to give additional labor or reducing the labors, and one of the service provider is ready to provide the materials according to your requirement. If customers are increased, then if I am making a phone call, then it will give actually they will give additional materials according to your requirement. So if the space is not sufficient, then if I am making a call to a service provider, then he will give additional space to manage or accommodate the customers. So if the demands are reduced, then I will give back some of the ports for the service providers. So from the 50 labors, so from the number of 50 labors to 20 or 25 labors, so actually I can reduce it. The remaining members may be sent back to the service providers. So think over that. If it is the scenario, then my business will be have higher profit, because according to the requirement, I will get the resources. If the resources are not at all used, then I will return it back. So these are the core point behind the cloud service models. Software as a service. If I need a specific software, but if I'm going to buy it, I have to pay $5,000. But instead, because I'm going to use only 30 days, okay. So I'm going to use that software only for 30 days. Then, but I have to pay $5,000. Then it may have, so it may be a heavy cost. Okay. Instead, so I have to pay only $10 per hour. Then I will choose it. Only $300 I have to pay for entire month instead of $5,000. And I need a platform as a service, infrastructure as a service. Similar cases of software as a service. Then I may have a platform to execute my application. I may need infrastructure as a service. Then I will have infrastructure. So these are the major services provided by the cloud. We will see one by one. See that there is a packaged software, and you see the information given on the images. So you manage means the entire cost. So for the given terms has to be managed by the customer itself. Okay. The first image specifies the entire packaged software has to be buy and maintained and managed by the customer itself. Okay, it's the responsibility of the customer. If any damage or if you want to increase or so enhance the capability of the software, if you want to increase or if you want to improve the things, then everything to be managed by the customer. In case of infrastructure as a service, then come to the next one. Here, data, software, runtime, and operating system. So that alone have to be managed by the customer. The network, storage, and process will be provided by the vendor, which means service provider. If you are going for platform as a service, then the data and software alone to be managed by the customer. Then the remaining part, runtime, operating system, network, and storage, and the processors will be provided by the service provider. Okay. So if you need additional operating system, or if you need enhanced operating system, if you need additional storage area, if you need a higher processor, everything is the responsibility of the service provider. You don't need to bother about it. You have to focus only data and software. And come to the third one, software as a service. So the customer nothing to do. They simply have to post the resources and its requirements. Then the service provider will provide the entire information or entire the resources, and he will manage. Okay. If any additional quantity of the storage or any additional processor and its capacity to be increased, if any additional network mechanism to be provided, whatever the need from the customer side will be managed by the service provider. So these are the service models related to cloud. So if you are going to start the business and if you are going to manage means, then the capital investment and the management investment and the expenditure related to all sort of incidents to be managed by the customer alone. But if you are coming to the different category of services, either infrastructure or platform or as a software as a service, then according to your requirement, then the service provider will provide a part by part of services. If you are choosing software as a service, then the entire resources will be given by the service provider, and the management and maintenance of the resources are the responsibility of the service provider. As much you are going to use, that much you are going to pay. Okay, that's all. In case of platform as a service, then the selected resources alone to be managed by yourself, and the remaining things will be managed by the service provider. In case of infrastructure, the same cases. Okay. So these are the major advantages related to cloud service model. Okay. So these are some of the examples related to software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. So in case of software as a service, business user or consumer may use it, and the technical IT community may use the PWAS and IWAS. Now we are going to focus on different dimensions of technology, which is called as virtualization. This technology is nothing but the virtualization, in simple word, is the creation of a resource in the virtual form rather than in its physical form. These resources can include a server, operating system, network, file, storage, and etc. The idea of virtualization is to simplify and easily manage workload such that it makes computing scalable. Okay. So what is meant by virtualization? If you are using a personal computer and you don't have PDF to Word converter, just assume that you are having a personal computer, and if you want to immediately convert your Word file to PDF, but unfortunately, actually you don't have that software. Okay, immediately you need that software, and you are searching the cost of that software. They are providing $100. Okay, the Word to PDF converter is $100 and is a package valid for only 1 year. So the 1 year is completed means again you have to pay one more $100. Again you have to renew that package. So this is the scenario. But in my online, I am having an opportunity to convert my Word to PDF, and each and every Word document I have to pay only $1. Okay, I have 10 actually Word document. I have to convert all the 10 Word document into PDF. Okay, so by paying only $10, I completed my requirement. That's all. I don't need to pay any $100. Okay, so whenever I need, simply through the online, I am able to convert from Word to PDF document, and I have to pay only for that usage. Okay, so this is called what? Virtualization. It's a kind of virtualization, because actually you are not having that software, and you are not having actually you are not having any resources related to that software, but however you are able to convert it. Okay, so they are providing a kind of resources as well as the concept of virtualization. And think over that. I am having a Windows operating system. Okay, I have one application. If I want to execute that application, I need an Ubuntu operating system. Just think over it. I have only Windows operating system, and I paid the cost for the Windows operating system. And just assume that, for namesake, I am saying the Ubuntu is having $100. You have to pay $100, even though it's a actually freeware. So for namesake, I am saying that for Ubuntu operating system, you need to pay $100. Okay, but what I am going to do, I am going to use that software for only 1 hour to execute my application. My application is not supported by Windows operating system. So I am demanding that I need Ubuntu operating system. Then the service provider providing a concept of virtual manager. Through that virtual manager, I am able to create a Ubuntu operating system over my Windows operating system. Windows is already existing. Over that, virtually they are providing an Ubuntu operating system. Now, according to the customer view, the Ubuntu operating system is existing in the own system. Okay, but actually the natural scenario is different. That is called, there is no Ubuntu operating system is really existing in your system. But however, you are able to manage the Ubuntu operating system through the virtual manner. Now you are able to execute your application, because that application demands only Ubuntu OS to execute it. Now you are quietly able to execute the Ubuntu that application based on the Ubuntu operating system. Also, the purpose of applications are completed. Simply I discard all the Ubuntu operating system and whatever the things I have requested. Now I have to pay according to my use. That's all over. I don't need to buy any operating system separately. So whenever the demands are there, then again I will ask my service provider. Then through the virtual manager technology, I am able to make a duplication of operating system, or I can get back a virtual operating system. So virtualization is not going to stop only on the software alone. There are different virtualizations are there. operating system virtualization, application virtualization, even the server also virtualized, administrative virtualization, network virtualization, hardware virtualization, as well as storage virtualization. So these are the different types of virtualization. So according to the current technology, all the things can be virtualized. Even though it's not available in your particular system, then you are able to have that softwares and that hardwares and whatever the things you need, even the processor also you can avail as a virtualized manner. How it is possible? This virtualization. Without, I mean, the first image depict that without virtualization, you are having hardware and you are having only one operating system, and you are having many number of applications. These applications are capable to run only on the given operating system. Assume that Windows operating system, and come to the next image. So there is many number of hardwares. Over that, there is a specific layer which is called virtual machine monitor. VMM is called as virtual machine monitor. Then through the virtual machine monitor, I am able to make multiple number of operating systems in virtual manner. And assume that there are some applications on operating system 2 and there are some applications on operating system 1. Assume that operating system 1 is Ubuntu and operating system 2 is called as some Macintosh. Okay, so these applications will run only on the Macintosh and these applications are only run on the Ubuntu. So if there are different applications or running on different operating system, then I am able to produce virtually. The operating system can be produced virtually. So the suitable application will work on to the suitable operating system. So this kind of facility, so I am able to avail through the concept of virtualization. So there is a comparison between virtualization and the cloud computing. So cloud computing is actually existing based on virtualization. Students, be clear about it. Cloud computing is actually existing over virtualization. And more clearly, cloud computing is totally depending on the virtualization. That's all. But the reverse is not true, which means virtualization can alone be existing. Okay, the virtualization technology alone can be existing anywhere. But the cloud computing cannot existing without virtualization. Okay, are you clear about it? We'll move to the next one. Hypervisor. Hypervisor is nothing but, just now we have seen the virtual machines are called as the VMM, virtual machine manager. Just to think over, if you are going to enter into your hotel, okay, and you are asking, actually we came 4 members of team and we need a separate table for 4 members, then there will be a supervisor. The supervisor will come and help you. Okay, and after certain minutes, some 10 members group are coming there and they are demanding. Then the supervisor will give a 10 members accommodated, 10 members capability table. And after certain minutes, if only one person is coming, and the supervisor will note it and will give 1 member table. And assume that there is no supervisor in the hotel, and the 5 members are coming to take some food. Then they are occupying 2 members in a 5-member table and 2 members in a 10-member table. After that, certain 7 members are coming. Few members are accommodating certain amount of tables. Then after certain minutes, the 10 members of group are coming and they are demanding that a single group of table, single table with 10 members, capable table we need. Then, so you are not able to do anything because the peoples are spread over. Even the tables are available, but you are not able to accommodate them in a single group. So here you have to identify what will happen if there is no supervisor. So this is the role of the hypervisor. So if any of the person or client is demanding operating system, then you are capable to provide the operating system. Okay, that is not a matter. But how the So how the things are going to be managed, that is the importance of the hypervisor. Because I may have the resources, okay, still I have the resources, but I am not able to provide according to your demand because resources are split to in different places in rationed manner. So this is the important point. We have to know about the role of the hypervisor. So without the hypervisor, so proper execution of resources and handling the resources are difficult. So these are virtualization and the hypervisor. We are already running out the time. Uh, so there are many things we have to discuss about it. Before that, I have to give a brief about the serverless computing. Nowadays is an important technology is actually emerging. That's serverless computing. Actually, you don't need to think about there is no server, but there is a computing mechanism for that. This is not like that. So just now we have discussed about the concept of virtualization. In similar manner, if you need a server to execute or manage your business, you have to buy the server. If you want to extend your business, then you have to increase the resources. You may increase the server from 1 to 5 or from 5 to 10 or some other extent according to the limit of the business you are going to execute. That is okay. But if the cost of the server is higher and the maintenance is also higher, then what you will do? You are going to actually you are supposed to build many different types of applications. Your team are ready to develop many number of applications, but the servers are needed and suitable softwares are also needed. On that time, you can go to the service provider. The service provider are ready to provide the server. So you don't need to have any server. The server is capable to manage all the requirements to build the application. Just to keep in your mind. So to develop a specific application, I need a number of softwares with suitable capability of the server. On the time, I don't need to have the server. Then I don't need to bother about it. The service provider will take care about it. So this is called what? Serverless computing. So this is an emerging technology. So right now. So as a conclusion, some of the feature of the cloud computing are that. So the initially it was named as a grid and cloud computing. Now it is taken as a form of cloud computing. In future, it may be termed as a edge computing, growth of complexity, and there are many features are there, and even cryptocurrency and the Internet of Things also going to be merged with the cloud computing. There are many dimensions are there to develop the cloud computing. And at a final conclusion, the real benefits of cloud computing includes the benefits of scaling and the benefits of agility. Agility is nothing but ability. Whatever the things, if you want to develop, then the ability to develop will be provided. So you are able to develop all sort of applications. You are able to develop all sort of resources because of the cloud technology. And the benefits of scaling means that cloud computing provides computing resources according to your demand and on demand. The benefit of agility means existing cloud computing architecture can be easily changed to accommodate the needs of the business. Then the evolution of mobile applications enabled via cloud computing technology for use in developing countries clearly unfolds at a much greater speed than the evolution and adoption of personal computing and the internet. So these are my conclusion. I hope that the students may have a wonderful session and you are fortunate to have this kind of informations. If there is any questions, you may ask.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable support related to the cloud journey.
Yeah.
As you given a basic platform related in what way the different kinds of technical terms like the virtualization and other topics you given. But one thing I can able to know that on your presentation that when you are talking about the cloud models as a third type, the platform services, I just want to
Yeah.
give an example for that. While we are taking the STEM program, we have taken one exclusive program on Google Colab. So I think Google Colab is the right example for the as what Sir has been mentioned about the cloud models, the third model like a platform as a services, that every CPU processing and as well as a RAM extension is being extensively given by the cloud of a Google, and we have only the
Exactly.
data storage that we will. Yeah, thank you. So that what we are running over that storage, we will make it in the drive. Our Google Drive will be take over the storage. So that is a good example. So try to have some kind of comparison with that. You can also go and see about how the Google Colab is being related to the subjects, where and all the virtualization and hypervisor, as where Sir has been mentioned about the technical terms. So, and my suggestion related to especially for the final years. So, let me take about the cloud computing with an IoT, because as we know that we have a center of IoT in our department. We want to enrich that particular place to be very strengthened that particular area. So, students can work out from today to take it out about their projects, or they can do some kind of mini projects based on cloud based IoT actually, or they can do any kind of a mobile application to be mobile application that can able to use it for the cloud actually. So you can able to take it in that particular journey related to this particular program, so that you can able to do the program, and as well as you can able to do the project in the right manner actually. So thank you to be all available in this particular session. We will shortly meet on the next session on the future of networking on 23rd. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, students, thank you very much. Have a pleasant day. Thank you for your presentation over this session.